name? What's your name? Ali? Nice to meet you, Ali. Thank you, brother Ali. Grab one of those. Okay, brother Ali. So the first microphone you give to brother Mazhar here. The question is, what would you do differently? What would you do? What would you emphasize on? This requires that you understand the situation that the Muslim community is facing today, the real issues, and then you make decisions. Decisions that will put us in a better place today and 30 years from now. Okay? So first thing, introduce yourself, and then tell us what you feel.
My name's Muzzer, and I think the biggest thing we could focus on would be unity. Not sure how we would go about it. It's a complex subject, but I feel like a strong unity between community, is crucial.
So what would you do as a leader to create unity?
Probably do some sort of maybe cross-religion events.
Interfaith programs.
Interfaith, yeah.
Yes.
More discussions rather than just majlis. Obviously that's important, but just open dialogue in general.
Open dialogue.
Yeah, between interfaith.
So, okay, open dialogue, interfaith.
Yeah.
So for example, I'll give you an example. I'll try to make it easier for you and let me know if you agree. You would, for example, bring a leader from another faith group, let's say a Catholic priest, hypothetically. And then you would bring a Muslim scholar as well, and then you would choose a topic, and they both give their perspectives on that topic. For example, abortion.
That too. I also have a lot of friends that are, American friends, not non-Muslim friends that are interested in Islam, but don't really have an avenue to bring them to Islam. So if you had like an event for just outsiders in general.
Very good. So opening our doors to the public.
Yeah.
So number one is interfaith. Number two is more inclusive, open to the public. Number three? You could skip.
All right.
Okay, now the sisters' turn. Inshallah, we'll see leadership from the sisters soon. Now take the microphone towards the sisters. If you don't raise your hands, I'll pick on someone. Very good. Go ahead. Brother Ali. Ali is the mailman.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Maika, and I think one of the biggest issues as a community we have is the different understanding of women, men, youth. And I think that's I would focus on, because we need to get all together, because our community gets older and my kids have a hard time relating to it, and not only on Islamic, but life, why are we coming here, everything together. So like kind of having probably creating groups and then have meetings, Zoom meetings, interactive between the groups, but getting everyone together and understanding everyone.
You're from Germany?
Yeah.
I had to ask that. When you say we have, just to reiterate, men, women, youth in our community, and we have to bring everybody together.
Yeah.
What are the practical steps that you have in order to bring the whole community together? I'm looking for practical steps.
Representatives from each group, which I think is very much missing.
Okay, very good.
For me, especially in Atlanta, there is not enough youth
Very
programs, not enough women
Got
who
you.
stand up.
Got you. Okay. Did you want to add anything? Thank you. Which part of Germany?
Cologne, Bonn.
I've driven all through Germany, so I like your country. It's beautiful. Go ahead.
Yeah, and also, as for unity again.
What's your name, sister?
My name is Zeenat.
Sister Zina.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, and I agree on what Brother Mazhar said about unity, bringing not only the interfaith, but also Sunni Shia unity as well as Shia unity. One practical thing would be have majalis in all the the common languages. That this is for Shia unity. Try to bring people to one place instead of just getting scattered everywhere. Everyone building
So
their
what
own.
would you do as a leader? That's an idea.
I
What
would,
would you do as a leader to accomplish
Yeah, I would try
that
to
idea?
organize majalis at the same time, the same day, the same time, especially big days like Mahi Ramzan and Muharram, so that more and more people gather together. Especially if it's a good prominent scholar like you, everybody comes together and. Instead of we don't go to this mosque because our mosque timing, we always go here, so we're gonna go here. Try to have majalis in all the languages at the same time. There is a mosque in San Francisco Sabah Center. They have majalis in 4 languages simultaneously, and I really like that idea. And also with Sunni Shia unity, try to get the Sunni community also together, especially like Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's birthday. Try to organize something with the Sunnis as well.
Thank you. Thank you, sister. Brothers, it's your turn now.
Assalamu alaikum, my name's Hamad. These are ideas I've had, but like actionable steps, education and like wellness events. So rather than just coming and sitting and listening, like interactive, maybe like a wellness clinic, health and fitness education, something that adds value to everyone's busy schedule. That's, I believe, the foundation of even entertaining spiritual beliefs. So it's like wellness clinic, maybe fitness camp, something like that adds value to the community. So education and other elements that will benefit everyone's life, and that will invite multiple faiths as well. So it's not just for Muslims, it's for humanity.
Thank you. That's a great idea. Anything else you would like to add?
I mean, that's a start. And like social and fun. So I've been coming here since I was a kid, and it was always like, come sit down, just listen to ideas that, yes, I know it's good, but it doesn't relate. And it doesn't relate to my life as a student and a youth here in this country.
Can you elaborate more?
So I come to the center and I'm listening to lectures in Urdu. Yes, I know Urdu, but I don't really understand the way the majalis is. So I'm daydreaming, I'm meditating, so I've spent like so many hours where I'm not really learning and developing. So not many people want to invest their time where it's not practical. I think, and Islam is founded on knowledge, so you have to be able to, the knowledge has to be practical and applicable to our lives.
I agree,
So-
100%. Me and those fellows, we grew up in this country at the same time, so we kind of, we feel it.
Yeah. So I do a lot of things we do things out of respect rather than
Out of desire.
yes. So
You need to be driven and motivated, and times have changed, so if you're not driven, if you're not motivated, time, now there's more awareness on the importance of time. People want to get in, get out, and get something beneficial into their lives, and then, get back to whatever other activities they have in their lives. So while I believe that there was a time where people would spend hours at an Islamic event, now people are, give me an hour and do your best in that hour. And I want to be out in 1 hour feeling energized, inspired, educated. But I also do believe, because times have changed, circumstances have changed, or maybe we as a Muslim community have evolved, or it's a little bit of both. We've realized that every time we gather here, we don't need to do religious, quote unquote, religious activities. So the recent endeavor that I have started with an organization, young organization called the American Muslim Youth Network, has something called an informal open space, or they also call it a support group, where 19 to 35-year-olds gather every week, and they just speak about their challenges here. And they don't have to be challenges necessarily exclusive to the Muslim community. We face challenges living in this country as just citizens of this country. For example, every day there's something, right? And we don't necessarily can speak about, for example, those issues from the minbar. Things are, there are people want to voice their opinion. People want to be heard. It's very important. It's part of human nature you work in a company and they respect your opinion. You work in any business and I was telling Dr. Shirazi that you go to, for example, T-Mobile and you leave the store and suddenly you get a text message. How was your experience? And they ask you 10 questions and you rate your experience, but we don't have that. And we know this country is based on customer service. So we're used to good customer service everywhere we go. It is time that we do this. We hear your perspectives. We hear what the community needs. We hear what the community wants. And we accomplish things through surveys, how to become better every week, every day. Our Islamic schools, our Islamic centers, our Islamic camps, our Hajj groups, our Umrah groups, our Ziyarah group, everything needs to be, updated to the new trend of life. But I believe we also do need support groups. So when you look at other faiths, you find that they all have support groups. In fact, the way that Christians have kept their youth engaged is through support groups. Growing up in this country, there is so many temptations for men and women, for the youth. And it's not so easy just to say, oh, it's not a big deal. I can get over it. It's not. It's hard. It's difficult. And you need a support system. You need a support system that gathers every week and helps you overcome those challenges. I believe support groups are extremely important. We have people with mental health issues. They need a support group. We have, people who are single parents in our community who need support groups. We have people in our community that have grown up in single parent homes. We don't even know how they feel. We don't even know what their challenges are. We don't even stop and say, let's bring them forward, hear what they have to say because they're part of our community, and let's give them, a community that is successful, I believe, is the voice of the people. It's the voice of the voiceless. There are many voiceless in our community. We need to give them a voice. Imam Hussein was the voice for the voiceless. Imam Ali was the voice for the voiceless. Our Imams were the voice for the voiceless. This is the foundations of the minbar of the Ahl al-Bayt, alayhim salatu wassalam. So, I agree with you. Not every time we gather has to be here. It could be at restaurants, it could be golf, it could be paintballing, it could be a sport activity, it could be hiking, it could be so many things. But while we're there, we're supporting each other, we're getting to know one another, we're expanding our circle of friends. Also, networking is very important. What your field of work is, I can benefit from. And what my field of work is, you can benefit from, and let's support one another. But if I don't know what you do, then how can I support you? And if you don't know what I do, how can you support me? I'll stop here. We'll go around. I have to do less talking today, so thank you, Brother Hamad. Sisters, raise your hands, please, if you like. Yes, sister. Very good. The younger, the better.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
My name is Parisha Sayed, and so my question was, what is the best advice for teenagers to stay on the right path and build a relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
So, Parisha, did you just arrive?
No.
Okay, so I'm asking the questions tonight.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just joking. So the question is for you, is if you were the leader of the Muslim community in America, whether it's this one or another one in Texas or whatever. Mm-hmm. And you woke up one day, how old are you?
I'm 16.
Okay, you woke up tomorrow and they told you you're the leader of the Muslim community, the Shia community in America, mm-hmm. or this specific one, or any. What would you do? What are the 3 things that you would do to make our community a better place and ensure a better future?
Of course. So my first step, like you said, would be feedback. We need to give voices to others. So I would definitely set up surveys and then have people sign up as like volunteers to read through the surveys and just collectively figure out what is needed most in our communities. And then secondly, I would make sure that everybody has access to mosques. I'm sure that there's places where maybe they don't have them, so I would want to establish that, give everyone the privilege of having a community. And third, I would make sure there's education in schools. I'm very privileged. I took an AP World course last year, and my teacher was very open to hearing about religion. And he treated all the religions he taught with respect. He taught Islam as well through our curriculum. And I think that made students very privileged. They saw the good side of Islam. He taught us about, terrorist groups, how it's only like 1%, 0.01%, whatever, that do things like that. So I would want to instill proper education in people, and I think this would create unity to take away from misconceptions and all the, children's opinions form from their parents as well. So I would want to get rid of misconceptions and make sure that everyone knows the true meaning of Islam and to make sure that our religion is heard for what it is.
Thank you. Thank you very much. My question now, before I get to you, give the microphone to Brother Ali. He's been waiting. Let's make a salawat for Brother Ali. My question to the audience, anybody can raise their hands. What is the most effective way? What is the best way for us to fight misconceptions? Remove misconceptions about Islam. Okay, let's have this, brother. What's your name? Noah. Okay. MashaAllah.
I think the best way to get rid of misunderstandings is to have independence. In school, I've been learning about independence and the Civil War and how people started not to stop fighting and make peace.
Okay. Go on.
That's all I have to say.
That's all you have to say? Okay, so my question to you is, how old are you?
I'm 10,
You're 10. What grade?
4th.
Okay. What is something that if were to happen, you would want to be at an Islamic gathering all the time? And you can be very honest. Like you would want to be there every time. What is one thing that will attract you? Besides me being here.
Well, there's a
You
question.
didn't take that joke well. Yeah, go ahead.
Well,
Just say it, man. Xbox, PlayStation, sports,
No.
pizza.
that doesn't matter.
Okay.
Most doesn't matter is knowledge about God because this
Very
is the
good,
mosque.
Very good, very good. Your father's taught you well. This guy's going to be a politician when he grows up, inshallah. So, what kind of knowledge would you like to learn about Islam?
Well, I'd like to learn about how all of it started.
What started?
Islam.
Islam, how Islam started?
Yeah, how all the prophets fought their way to get everyone to believe that they were, that God was real and idols weren't.
Very good, very good. Thank you very much. You can pass the microphone back to Ali here. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Yes. Take the mic from Brother Ali here. He's doing such a good job. So now rest a little bit here, Brother Ali. Rest a little bit here while they, on the first stair of the member. Yeah, very good. Inshallah, in a few years I'll come and you're sitting on top. Go ahead.
I think a good way probably to get the audience engaged, and get them to come to the community and come to the community is debates. I think debates would be a great way, so that you can get all the misconception out of the way, and have one of a scholar probably asking the questions and debating on top of that question, back and forth. I think that's
Very good. What was your name?
Abazar.
Brother Abu Dhar.
Abuzar, yeah.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaykum salam. We'll have two more people talk about what they would do, because we're going to shift to another question. What would they do if they were the leaders of the community? So if you have that in your mind to speak on this matter, this is the time. We have a brother here and then a sister there. You're ready for that, right?
Assalamu alaikum Maulana. My name is Abbas. So the first thing would be, engaging the youth of today, because a lot of youth, they are not attached to the mosque because of the language barrier they face, because some people who were born here doesn't understand Urdu, and most of our programs in majority of centers are in Urdu. So that is the first thing. And try find ways to attract kids to the mosque. That was the first thing, because if the kid doesn't want to come to the mosque, the parents sometimes have to stay with them. And that way, a lot of communication is, missed and stuff, and a lot of, elders stay in one pace, the kids, fall back, and a lot of miscommunication is created, and interfaith dialogue is more important. So if I'm a leader of a community, I would target my youth and take along with them, and spread the knowledge through various social media platforms is one of the important things that we can use these days to communicate the message and stuff.
Very good. Thank you, brother. Thank you, Brother Abbas. The sister here in the blue scarf.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Sana. I just want to add, so I think that if, seeing that the community here is mainly Indo-Pak, I noticed, so my answer is kind of geared towards that community. Now, I noticed that every year Ayatollah Sistani puts out a letter to the speakers for the month of Muharram, Safar, and he guides you on what to address. So if I was leading an Imam Barga or an Islamic center, I think I would make it a requirement to follow those points. And I noticed this year, which was really, really good to see, that there were a lot of the sheikhs, the English-speaking ones, that actually followed that advice. One of the things was, don't just talk about the issues in the community unless you're going to give the solutions too. So I noticed during a lot of the speeches done by many of the sheikhs, including yourself, there were topics that were covered for that night, which was a problem that the community is facing. One thing you said, hey, abortion. So, those are topics that need to be addressed. And when I would listen to those speeches, I would think back like, wow, that was a really good topic. But you know what? There's this huge community here that needs to hear it, but they only speak Urdu, or they only speak such language. And there are speakers that come to those, centers that speak Urdu, but I don't think many of them are even covering those topics that Ayatollah Sistani puts out, saying, hey, follow this guideline. And I think that should be made mandatory. If you're going to invite a speaker, say, hey, you know what? Your Ayatollah is giving you a guideline, follow that.
Thank you. What was your name again? Yeah, Sana. I believe we have met many years, maybe. Have I met you before? Yeah. Subhanallah. Yes,
I know I'm an add-on, but if I can speak. So an issue I've been facing since I was young is everything everyone's talked about, but
you've been here in this community all through,
I
right?
grew up in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like the women don't really have a voice. So, and that has been a big issue. So, and nowadays, most women like me are professional. Outside of a mosque, we are very active with both genders in the world. Appropriately, we have a voice out there. But in here, and I understand in certain centers like this center, when during Muharram, things get really busy and crowded, so then the women need to be in the separate room. But what happens that I have seen in every center, whether it's an Iranian center, Iraqi center, Pakistani, wherever I go, the women are in a separate area, and because of that, they are not in front of the Sayyid, right, or the Sheikh, and they are not incentivized to be quiet and listen and gain something from it. So what happens is that the few handful of people who are there to learn and listen, you have children jumping over your heads because there's people are not always, you know, putting their, you know, like if you have little children, I know it's difficult, but we have a separate room for that too. And then to add to it, too many women are talking. They're talking because when you're separated from the main attraction and what's happening, you're less incentivized to really pay attention, you know, and then the volume goes up and down, and maybe if you don't feel comfortable in English because you're, you know, it's not your language of comfort or what have you. So I don't know if it's clear what I'm saying, but
It's very clear to me. I don't know if it's
that's an
clear
issue
for everybody else.
I've had up to this day. I have this issue.
Yes.
And it makes me less incentivized to come to the center where, for one, it's in Urdu, which I don't feel comfortable enough to, where I'm gaining, really understanding. But I want to give azan. I want to pay my respects, so I come. But then, again, you have the children running around, and you have too many women talking. And I don't know if they feel marginalized or de-incentivized or what it is. But I don't know. I feel like if there was leadership that could say, if you are going to talk, please go outside or find somewhere else. Or maybe more, not even in a harsh way, but just like, listen, we're all here to learn and gain something. There are so many other things that we need to do in this world. So if we're all here, let's just all like sit and gain something from it. So I don't know. That's just always been an issue in the women's section for me. So I would try to come up with it.
Do we have a whiteboard? Yes, no? We don't have one, okay. Because it would have been great if we were to list the top things that are recurring, because there's something that, no, but then we want everybody to look at it before they go. And then this would be good data, even for me. Now, anybody else wants to make a quick stop at this? How did the woman feel about what was just said? Yeah? Yeah, we're not just, like I said, we're not just focusing. The reason why I want us to talk about this, and I said this will help a lot of communities, maybe most communities, majority of communities, because I think the way we're doing things is kind of generic and it applies to almost like every community. So I'll be very honest. I'll say this. Maybe that's just me trying to be too honest, and I'll get in trouble. But hey, it's not going to be the first time. It's not going to be the first time I get in trouble. If I were a woman, I don't think I would go to a Islamic center or a Imam Barga. I would just not feel engaged, because while many years ago there was no internet, there was no YouTube, there was no live streaming, it made sense for people to go to a place to hear a lecture via a TV. But now, if you can sit at your couch and hear it at the same time, or if you're using your phone and hearing it at the same time, it really does not make sense for you to drive an hour, stay there for an hour, drive back for an hour, while there could be a possibility of you wanting to use the bathrooms, and the bathrooms, most places are not adequate or clean. Number two, like you said, there could be kids running around, and that makes people uncomfortable. They can't pay attention. Number three, it could be that there's, at the same time, other online platform that's offering a better service, more information, more relatable. So, with that said, yes, I'll come to you. So with that said, I agree that there should be a bigger incentive for people for men and women to both be present together at an Islamic gathering. You know, like you said, we go to work together, university together, everywhere together. In fact, I have seen some maraja, I don't want to mention names, When they have lectures, there's men and women sitting in one hall. So, with that said, I believe that change will not, you don't just get your rights handed to you. You have to ask for them. You have to work for them. Sometimes you have to fight for them. So as long as the silence continues, I believe that this younger generation, those kids that are 10, 14, 15 years old, if we want to see them at the centers, they're going to have to sit across the person speaking. And they're going to have to feel equal. And they're going to have to speak sometimes themselves. And they also have to be part of the decision making themselves. And they have to be part of the leadership themselves. And that's how we ensure the future and the prosperity of the Muslim community. Versus something that makes, there is no such thing as a perfect scenario, but there is a better scenario. And the better scenario is for us not to lose our children and the future of Islam, right? Now we'll go to the sister who wanted to comment, I believe.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Khadija.
Salam wa rahmatullah.
In regards to what you just said, like if you have children, like it's better for you to stay home. So if you stay home, how does your children be engaged with like Islam in the community?
I think sister, what was your name?
Khadija.
Sister Khadija, you stopped listening at the first sentence. I would not encourage anybody to stay at home. I encourage change. I encourage for you to be here and bring your change. I don't encourage people to stay home. I was giving an example that if I was stuck in a situation when there was no way for me to achieve what I want to achieve, I would be able to stay home and then give that information. Because you have an hour, right? You're dedicating an hour on Thursday or Friday or Saturday or Sunday to a religious activity. So I would stay at home, and I could be wrong, but I would stay at home and I would give that hour to my kids to gain something. Where, for example, it is something that relates to them, it relates to their lives, it relates to their school, it relates to their decision making, it relates to their akhlaq, it relates to their morality, versus being somewhere when they're on their phone or they're chit-chatting with their friends or they're just outside and they don't learn anything. But what I recommend is not staying at home. Is most certainly not staying at home. It is being proactive and bringing change and ensuring a better future for our families. Like what you have done. You're here with your child. And if you look at this road that we're headed and you feel that my children want to be here without pressure, then we're in a good place. If you don't have to pressure them and drag them, then we're in a good place. And I believe we have to provide that for all aspects of life. So for example, for children, your daughter's age until the age 5, they need a special program. They need to enjoy being here. They need to want to be here. 5 to 8 years old, they need a program. We invest, you know how much excuse me for saying such examples, but I just want to be blunt. We spend so much money on toilet paper, literally. But when it comes to, for example, saying let's have a program for kids from 5 to 7 years old, a good program for the 2 hours that they're here, oh no, let them just come here, play here. What will they gain? If I can have a program where our kids can learn this question that was asked by this brother, how did it all start? What did prophets do? Teach them about one prophet at a time. And then you have 8 to 12 years old. They have different things. 12 onwards is a very critical time. You have to have specialists that will come and speak about what's happening in the kids' lives, right? And then you have 13 to, you have the teenagers, 13 to 18. Those years are very critical. We all were teenagers one day. Some of us are still teenagers here. Those are the times that kids are doubting themselves. They have mental health issues, especially as Muslim kids living in this country. Those are not my words. Studies indicate that they're 4 times more likely to have anxiety and depression than other kids. And anxiety and depression is already high, right? So we have to have special programs for our kids. We have to do something where the kid wants to be here. He wants, he begs, he goes and tells all his other friends, you guys are missing out. So we're going to be, for example, I'll give you an example. And this is all because of surveys and the fact that I have been listening and the fact that I believe change is necessary. So we're starting a Saturday school. Why not Sunday? Because a lot of people would have been upset. You're starting a Sunday school, there are already established Sunday schools. No problem, we'll do it on Saturday. So this school is not so much curriculum. Not like so many names and dates and historical accounts and this and that. It's less of that. It's just every week there is going to be a special carnival event. So the dunk tank, pony rides, what's this thing they jump in? The jumpy house. There's always going to be pizza and snacks. And a support group where kids talk about, even first graders. As a first grader, they sit together. What was your challenge this past week at home, at school? First graders, you would be very surprised how smart they are and they start. But we need to create support groups for them. So I believe that this should be the new trend of our schools. Because guess what? How many of you went to Sunday schools? How many of you? Raise your hands, raise your hands, raise your hands. All of you went to Sunday schools. How much of that knowledge you retained there do you still remember? Now raise your hands. If it's more than 50%. If it's more than 50%. Exactly. We need, what Sunday school needs to offer is relatable information. So for example, Salman Rushdie, the attack on Salman Rushdie. You think kids weren't asked about this at school? What did we have to say? The kid doesn't even know where he stands, where Islam stands. So we need to prepare our kids at Sunday school to go to the school and to believe in themselves. Why do Muslim women wear hijab? Our kids don't even know why. In a practical sense, don't tell me because Allah said, go and wear it. No, not that. We need another way, another approach, that the kid himself is convinced and can convince his teacher, she can convince her friends, right? So I believe our approach needs to change, and that's how we are able to engage the whole community. I believe most of the time, excuse me for saying this, youth are not even given a priority. They're not the priority in choosing the speaker and choosing the language and choosing the environment and choosing the topic and choosing the leadership. And then we ask ourselves, geez, why aren't they here? But it's not rocket science. What did you do for them to want to be here? If it doesn't relate, they don't want to be here. It's as simple as that. When we were growing up, we had to be there. There was no option. You had to be there. And now things are different, right? So, I believe we are at two crossroads. One, to save this, the heritage, the culture, the language, and this. And the other is to lose our kids. Islam, Shi'ism, where they don't want to associate. And I tell you, we have to go for the latter. We have to save their faith, their relationship with Allah. That is their lifeline, their relationship with Allah. If they lose their relationship with Allah, then all the miseries can befall a person and a family and a community. Time and over again now I have seen, you go in communities, there's children, not children anymore, serving a life sentence. You know how many times, just this past Muharram and Safar, from 1st of Muharram until now, you know how many people have called me, said, Sayyid, my child the child is not a child, but it's their child, is an alcoholic. DUIs. Do we talk about addictions to alcohol in our community? No, because we think it doesn't even exist. But it exists. And those people are not within the four walls. They're outside the four walls. But Muslim community, they're all your children. Every single one of them are your kids. Don't say he is Ahmed's kids. He's not my son. He's your son too. He's your nephew too. He's your brother too. Let's treat all the kids in our community like our sons and daughters. If one of them is struggling, it is our problem. It is the whole community's issue. Not just one person saying, oh, let his parents deal with it. We even are willing to expose that child and his family because we feel safe. There is no such thing. There is no such thing. We have to collectively help each other. They're all our kids. We have to collectively feel depressed and sad if one kid is hurt. If one family is shattered. That is the community. That is the community that we need. That is the community that Rasulullah built. I believe we've gathered good information here. Well, one was interfaith and opening to other communities, but I feel that, and then we also had women and their involvement, and that is extremely important. I cannot emphasize how important it is for a community to be built on two wings. Just like a family. Can a family survive without a mother? No. Can a family survive without a father? No. You need them both. And this is the family. Your community is your family. It needs both. And they need both. They have different perspectives, different ways to perfect the community. But don't run on one engine. Don't. Don't do that to yourself. Don't do that to your community. One was interfaith and opening our doors. Number two was women involvement. Number three was focusing on the youth and the children. I believe youth and children, because sometimes we forget the children. Because the youth are in danger now. You know, they're acting crazy, so we want to save them. But we forget that this kid, 10 years old, 3 years he's going to be a teenager. So let's work on a plan for him, for her. How many Sunday schools have you heard of in America who have pony rides, camel rides, this dunk tank, all those things? Why don't we use them? We have the money. We have the resource. Let's make it more appealing for our kids. If he can go and play for an hour and then come and learn half an hour of Quran, believe me, he'll come in fresh. He'll go the next day to school on a Monday fresh, wanting to learn. So let us use all those abilities and na'am that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us to our advantage. Sports. Sports are very important. Don't tell me, oh, sports for kids. No. Who told you sports are for kids? The whole community needs to be involved in sports. Your whole community at large needs to be involved in sports. Because that's how you maintain the health of your community. If you have people who are suffering from anxiety and depression in your community, the best thing you can do for them is get them involved in sports. Get them involved in sports. You'll have a happier community. Our community here is not just a place for salah. It's much bigger. And that's what we learned from Rasulullah when he made the masjid. Okay. Anybody wants to add on before we move on to the next topic? People who haven't spoken. We have to give, yes, this young brother here.
So if you like...
What's your name? What's your name?
My name's Abdullah. So like...
Abdullah.
Yeah.
Abdullah?
Yeah. If you leave
How old are you, Abdullah? Oh, don't hold your horses. Why are you in a hurry? How old are you, Abdullah?
I'm 8.
8?
Yeah.
Second grade?
Yes. No, third.
Third grade. MashaAllah. Okay, go ahead now.
So if you leave your kids at home, they're going to just play with the stuff you put them at. And then if you're just watching on TV, they're eventually going to cry and then want your attention. And then you're going to keep your eyes off them, much less on TV. Then they're going to cry and get hungry and then get what they want. And then it's going to change to nursery rhymes. But then if you let them try like online classes, like if they like it, they can do it and do majlises, or they can do majlises, they can sleep, but then eventually they will listen and find it interesting.
Okay, so what would you like? Thanks for that advice. You confused the life out of us. But now tell us, what would you like?
Like, what do you mean?
If you were the leader, what would you do?
Mm, uh, yeah, free candy.
Oh, seriously? Okay, besides that, that's a good one.
And more Sunday school.
More Sunday? What would you do in the Sunday school?
Um,
What do you want to do in that Sunday school? Where's your dad? Don't look at your dad. Just look at me. What would you do in the Sunday school? What would you do in the Sunday school if you were the principal?
teach about Islam.
Okay, how would you teach?
Like play games to learn about
Okay.
it. Like if you like,
What's your favorite show? Or cartoon? Or book?
I don't know.
Tell us the truth. Nobody's listening, just me. I'm the only one that can hear you right now.
I don't know.
Ah, yes you do. Your favorite show, cartoon character, or book?
What is it?
Oh, you can't ask your dad. What do you mean? Tell us.
I don't know.
My son is your age. I can tell you what his is. Spider-Man. What about you?
Marvel and
See, now you're talking. Marvel superheroes. Yeah? Okay.
like DC.
Very good. Thank you very much. Give a salawat for Abdullah for being brave enough to speak. Very good. Now, are we ready for the next question? Oh, I haven't asked. You have to let us ask the question. We have problems. Are we going to, if we don't talk about those problems, sit down, Ali, if we don't talk about those problems, will they go away? No, right? They won't go away. If you don't talk about a problem, it won't go away. What we need to do is we need to rise to the occasion. Face the problem. Resolve. And what we need to do is we need to see problems coming, and we need to have a foresight in order to prevent them before they take place. I want you to tell us of 3 main problems that we have as a community all over America. All 3 problems that we face as Muslims or just as Americans that could be detrimental to our faith, to our health, to our future. Those who haven't spoken, can you please find it in yourself to raise your hands before I pick on you? See? Yes, the sister all the way in the back. Ali, all the way, all the way.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Alaykum assalam wa rahmatullah. What's your name?
Arman.
I'm sorry?
Arman.
Arman?
Yes. I don't know if I have 3 problems, but I can say 2 on top of my head.
Sure.
The first one is smaller rooms for ladies in most of the centers. And the priority is always given to the men, like the bigger rooms for the men. And lack of youth in decision-making roles. And lack of women in decision-making roles.
Okay. Thank you very much. Brother Ali, grab me a water as well, please. Thank you. May Allah bless you, Ali. Thank you very much. Others want to speak on this? Abdullah, you had your turn, Habibi. So we have to see who hasn't spoken. Come on. I know you're all thinking it, just let's speak out louder. Think loud, think loud. Anybody? I'll tell you one. One problem that I believe is throughout almost every community, you know, since the beginning, just this year, just this Muharram and Safar, past 2 months, I have probably visited 2 communities a week. Even this week, I'll be here, and then Sunday I'll be in New Jersey. So there are common themes in almost every community. There are problems in almost every community. The number one on my list is, can you guess? Mental health, communication, not number one for me, what I have seen. Yes? Anybody said something there? Management. What did you say? Learning. What else? Culture. There you go. Sana. Marriages. I told one of the brothers that I was in a gathering of 34 people last week. Not a single was married. Not a single person. Not one of them was married. And this group is for ages between 19 to 35. I was in another group a few days ago up in Dallas. That was about 20, 25. Not a single one was married. Youth group. Do I need to really explain the dire need for that? In every community, today we're suffering. And it's sad. It breaks my heart to see this. That we did something. You see, how many of you are, I know some of you, you're doctors, but pharmaceuticals, in you know, pharmacy, medicine, you all know about it. Once you release a medication, how long does it take for you to understand it in and out? Long time. You have to study the data. You have to look how different age groups react to that medication, right? Am I right, Dr. Shirazi, or am I wrong? So you collect data, and after like 10 years, you realize that it works best for this age group, but not this specific age group. And then you start wanting to find out why, right? We live in a society based on data. You know, Amazon is introducing this dream home. Every little thing in that home is a spy. Literally, even, excuse me for saying this, your toilet seat is a spy in that dream home. Yes. Why? Because they want to collect data and make things better, right? Now, we did things. Our community 30 years ago, 40 years ago, sometimes even more, you know, like 60 years ago, came to America, and they did what they needed to do. They established masjids. Before that, there was no masajid. There was no place for you to have a majlis and salah, right? But now, 30 years have passed. 40 years have passed, 50 years have passed. Do we look at the data? Do we analyze the data? Do we see what worked and what didn't work so that we can release new ideas, new medications? Because, you know, imagine if you ask somebody, Salah is meant to be a medication for us, for our soul. Salah is meant to be a medication for our soul. Many of us don't know this. But imagine you have 17 rak'ah every day, and then you ask someone, what do you feel? What does your soul feel after the 17 rak'ah? Nothing. Somebody takes 17 pills a day but doesn't know why he's taking it. You say, you're taking 17 pills. Do you feel any different? No. Habibi, there's something wrong. One issue that this setup has created is, number one, we have gone towards nationalistic approach in our communities. How many of you are from Pakistan? Raise your hands. How many are you from India? How many are you non-Pakistani Indian? I see some diversity here, our German sister. Where are you from? Afghanistan. Afghanistan. Did you raise your hands? No? Nobody else? You, where are you from? Afghanistan. Okay.
I'm from here. I'm from America, but my mom and dad are from different places, Pakistan and Guyana.
Guyana.
I was born in America.
Okay.
And my dad's Pakistani and my mom's Polish.
Nice. Tanzania. Very good. We do see some diversity here. But is it enough? No. Now, I could go to another community that's Iranian and ask the same thing, and then it'll be like four, Pakistanis and 3 Indians, and then. What we created is we created cultural centers. Iraqis, Pakistanis, Indians, Gojas. We created cultural hubs. Because it was very difficult for people to just sit in an airplane every Thursday and fly back to Karachi or Tehran and then be back at work on Monday. So what do? They drive in their cars, drive 15 minutes, and boom, you're either in Karachi or you're in Karbala or you're in, literally, even the way we park, the way we behave, our food, the colors that we use, everything. You go to their home, the decor is so beautiful, it's modern, it's light colors. You go to the masjid and it's literally, please don't take this the wrong way. That's a problem. We create one thing that came out of this that needs to change now. Let's not sit there and say, repeat the problem 3,000 times. We know the problem, let's come up with a solution. We need our centers to be a place of ilm, place of Islam. Talk about unity, place for Islamic unity, harmony, wellness centers, mental health. People need to mentally feel at peace when they are there. And they need to be representative of the state of our community. MashaAllah, everybody is so affluent. And that, our community needs to show that, showcase the fact that they're affluent, right? That's an issue. I believe that we need to now divert from cultural centers to Islamic centers. How many of you agree with me? Raise your hands. No, really. You all agree? No, keep your hands up. Keep your hands up. I want to see. I didn't see everybody. Okay, so the majority agree. We have a small minority. Another is the fact that there are no marriages happening in our community. Let me drink my water before this one. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Before I go into the second and on why there is no marriages happening, how much time do we have? Time? Okay, so we'll wrap. Okay, no problem. So what we'll say is, I want to hear what you guys feel on how change can come, where our centers can go from being cultural driven and culture is a priority to religion and Islam becoming a priority. And that is one of the reasons why Sayyid Sistani's letter before Muharram, nobody cares about it. Because we want to do things culturally. We agree with the marja as long as we agree with him. But once we disagree with him, we disagree with him. We don't even care for his opinion. That's reality. So how can we change? And why is it important for us to do that? Who wants to take this one? Yes, this, I forgot your name, sister. Micah, Sister Micah. Give it to Sister Micah. She's the right person to speak about it because she's outside the culture.
And that's what I want to bring up. I grew up, I guess, a Lutheran Christian in Germany, and what I see here, what I saw over there, one of the biggest issues I see in our community, and I grew up in community, or got married, and lived in communities in New Jersey and here in New York is money. We have, most of us are affluent, well off. We don't put it in the community. We don't put it in the centers. And I think a lot of the issues, space, programs, interface within the community, within the mosque, and with the schools, everything is, if we have a little bit more money, if we all put our money in there instead of Amazon, for example, traveling, we can solve a lot of them. Space is one of them for sure. The other thing is, and as much as I complain about it, I think our communities overall are only 60 years old. And I think that is an effect, that everyone comes from somewhere else and we're creating something new. I had a hard time with things I was growing up, which bothered me from Germany, and suddenly they were gone. So I do understand the older generation trying to keep their culture alive.
Yes.
But we need to learn that we have a new generation and we have to catch them. And I think that's communication between old and young. And often the community's leadership belongs to the older generation.
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest problems too. Again, communication between old and young, men, women, youth. But a lot of these problems is with money. Like you said, these programs like trampoline, get the kids to come. The Christian communities have that, but they have more time too. So we have to kind of find a middle way to get this. So I do understand why we are here as much as it bothers me. I think it still takes time, but I do worry that we lose our teenagers.
Thank you.
I think.
Thank you. Anybody else wants to talk about, yes, this brother right here? Yeah. Thank you, Ali.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
My name is Sadiq.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, like, one of the things, like she said, the things which we try to, I would recommend, I mean, like, my suggestion is, like, we should build more relationship. I mean, like, relationship building is more important within the community. I mean, like, that will help put new ideas where you can actually communicate with the relationship what you have built over the years with the members of the community. It's easier for you to build upon it, where you can bring in new ideas and that can grow and that can actually make like the other issues what we have, like unity, because most important is like unity. When we talk about unity, relationship building will actually help and move on and try new ideas and new that will help the community to grow.
Okay, anybody else wants to take a quick, yes, the sister right here. Yes, the question is cultural versus Islamic centers. You know, we have developed centers that are influenced by culture. How do we migrate from that to more of Islamic inclusive? So when you go to a center, you don't see one specific nationality or color or decree, but you see all the Shia community together.
Assalamu alaikum, my name is Saima. I live in Atlanta 20 plus years, and all these years that I've seen it in all our mambargas, we focus on the culture because all the speakers that come here to speak, whether it's a 10-day majalis during the Muharram time or Safar time or even in Ramzan, they're talking about same thing over and over again, which nothing new brings it. So what we lack, or the leadership of these Imam Bargas or centers needs to do, is to bring in the new sheikhs and even though it's an English majalis or English lectures, I think that's what we lack in Atlanta a lot. A 2 days lecture on the weekend doesn't really do, whereas you could do a whole series of it. I mean, I listened to your majalis, your lectures this year. I listened to some other ones, and those were the topics, really enlightened me. And, it made me feel like I had gone back, talked to my elders in Urdu, explaining to them what I learned. So if our elders cannot listen or understand better, I'm sure we all can do a better job to give them the message.
Thank you very much. Because we need to wrap it up, let's now migrate to the marriage crisis. Is there a problem? Do we believe that there is a problem, a real problem? Can we raise our hands if we agree that there is a real problem? Okay, so I believe the majority feel it. They feel the burn. Let's come up with 2 or 3 practical steps of how we can change the situation for our community. Because there is nothing more pleasant to Allah and Rasulullah and the Ahlul Bayt than us being able to establish families. That is why a person who is married in Islam, their salah is 70 times more. Their faith is complete. Half of their faith is complete. This is so much emphasis on family building. Not marriage, family building. But family building starts with marriage. And we live in a time where importance is not even given to family. People are now confused about their gender, let alone having importance to establishing a family. So if we want to please Allah and to ensure a good future for the religion of Islam, we have to ensure that there are families, happy families. 3 ways where we can start seeing a better future in the creation of families. Yes.
You're saying like steps?
Yes, practical steps.
Okay, so I grew up here, and Islam is a huge part of my life, but let's just say, my family wants me to find a nice Muslim woman. My entire life, I've never run into school, never like hit the center, so how am I supposed to just find a woman from thin air, or I'm not really sure. So we have expectations placed on us, but if I'm living my life, I'm a student, I'm working hard, it's an extra stress to go out and seek. So I think we need support and environments where we all interact and engage with men and women in our life. So it's like when we come to the center, it's like there's this huge barrier, but that's not how we live our lives, at least speaking personally. So it's like I would like to just be able to interact with Muslim women normally. Like social events, just normal things. And we can do everything in a halal way, but there needs to be an emphasis on healthy community building and progress. It's like there's a lot of expectations without solutions.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I believe that was a very good input. There's a sister. Yes, go ahead.
Mine's real quick. I was just going to say to generally open the lines of communication, whether it's between the sexes or between the older generation and the younger generation. If there's open dialogue and open communication that is not frowned upon, and thoughts are actually shared as ideas between people, I think we can all grow.
The sister in the yellow, behind you, Ali. First there.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Saja.
So
I think the main and the basic and most important factor into this is communication. Yes, that's key, but I think the forums are there in front of us. It could be social media, it could be website online, because as technology grows and as we evolve every day, I feel like there's so many, to be honest, so many dating apps, even Shia Muslim dating apps. There's even Shadi.com. I met my husband on a matrimonial app. So just that story being told, I'm just trying to say that I feel that we say that this is an Imam Barga and this is a community, so an idea would be and a step would be that if people have their sons and daughters who are not married, who are available, who are, they're looking for their better half, we need to give them a forum and a platform to do that on. And we can do that even through our own, Zenabia has their own website. There could be a section on that website just to kind of communicate that this is what we're doing. Zenabia can even have an app. So I'm just saying that these are ways that you can kind of meet people and also know who's out there and who's available, so that there's more easier ways to communicate.
Thank you, sister. Who's heard my talk about dating apps? Well, that's something that you all need to, I think, look into. I've given a lecture about dating apps, Islamic dating apps. Yes, Sister Sana here.
I just want to say, I think there needs to be the discussion of removing cultural taboos of, okay, you don't marry a divorcee, or you don't marry a girl because she's dark skinned or because she's fat, you know, like she can have all the other plus points. There's a lot of girls I know that aren't married that are perfectly fine because their family has an expectation that she's gonna marry a Sayyid because you're a Sayyidani, you know? So, and I think those families very strongly believe that your marriage is not gonna be good enough, or that person is not gonna be good enough for you if they're not a Sayyid, if that's how you're born into that type of a family. Even with divorces, there are people that have bad marriages, but because of that cultural backward-mindedness, it's, there's girls that are sitting out there, or even guys now, that, no, we don't wanna marry them because he or she has been divorced once, or they have a child. So I think those taboos need to be discussed and how they are addressed in the eyes of Islam and not just culturally, because this is how the Pakistanis do it versus how the Khojas do it.
Again, that's another topic I have discussed in three different topics. One of them is divorcees in our community, and I was I'll just say this one line. Some of the Khadijas in our community, you're missing out on somebody who could be an amazing person, and you're putting a prerequisite that, oh, she's divorced. Get to know her. Maybe she's going to be the best thing that's ever happened to your life. Or vice versa, the man as well. So those preconceived notions, like you said, this is this is un-Islamic. So anything un-Islamic is Jahiliyyah, and Jahiliyyah is backwards. To go back to a pre-Islamic era, that's what we mean. So those topics are extremely important. Now, I'd like to wrap up. I think that we have had a good session. I want to kind of let everybody. Yes, inshallah. We want everybody to be here tomorrow. Fresh what time? 7:30. So I don't know if I explained to you, but I'm stuck with Brother Hassan here, who is not late, who is not on time. So tomorrow, 7:30. Brother Hassan, 7:30, right? Okay, very good. No, I'm joking. I had a flight delay. Tomorrow we'll be here, inshallah, in time, and we'll have a lecture, and inshallah, a celebration, and then we can do another Q&A where you can ask your questions. We're not gonna, we're open floor to a question and answer. This brother right here, what is your name? Adil. Brother Adil asked where you can find my lectures online. You just write my name, and you'll see plenty of them, whether it's on, Instagram or YouTube. And all you need to do is just search Jawad Qazwini. So that's that. One more thing. No, before I get to your question, I wanted to conclude, but before I do that, I wanted to also give my perspective on dating apps. I believe dating app is the absolute last resort. It is not the norm. I don't believe that we should be sitting. Dating apps, I'm glad they've worked for you and your husband. You're very lucky. You're 1 in a million. You look at statistics. They just simply don't work. And their name is dating apps, not marriage apps. That's a problem. People go there to date. And if I don't see the person behind the screen, it's going to be very hard for us to figure out what those people are or what they're like. I'm not saying they don't work. Alhamdulillah, they've worked for you. I'm sure they're going to work for other people, but that is not the norm. The norm is for us to get to know each other like we just did now. I got to know your minds. You got to know mine. We exchanged opinions. It is very awkward if I get, especially nowadays, one of those young men in their 20s and say, go and sit across this young woman and talk about marriage without them not knowing each other. Like he said, but once you've worked together, you're in the same environment, you appreciate each other's mind. Because I'll be honest with you, what is the criteria of dating app? It's the profile picture. You're missing out on somebody who may not be physically as attractive, but could be extremely attractive, has an attractive soul, is educated, is accomplished, is a good mother. How do you do that? When you hear them, when you appreciate their minds. And we have to give that opportunity to our community. For us, I'm not even talking about just for marriage, but I want to hear what Brother Ahmed has to say, because I might learn something from him. I'll appreciate what his insight is. Maybe I'll even disagree with him. But hey, I know now that there are 2-3 different opinions out there, not just mine. And that is important. It creates tolerance as well. I believe we need to create an environment for people to get to know each other, and then they slowly, if we create such an environment, then a year later, somebody within that group will come and tell me, Sayyidina, I've been seeing this, for example, person in this group. It's been 6-7 months. I feel like I can get to know her now for marriage. Can you please make the introduction? And then I'll be more than happy to do that. Or I can go and approach the families and say, this young brother wants to approach her. That way there is no shaming also within the family, within the community. Somebody says anything, they say, well, we went through the Sayyid. He knows. We're getting to know each other. Because today there's a lot of shaming as soon as, let's say 2 people from the community are seen at a restaurant. Now their life has gone down the drain because they're doing something horrible. They're not. They're getting to know each other. They're trying to start a family. And we don't read intentions. If their intentions are bad, let it be. Let Allah be the judge. Why should I be the judge, right? So I wanted to also say that about, the whole ordeal with dating apps. Now, Brother Ahmed, your question. Brother Ali.
Oh.
Thank you very much. He's tired. He's had a long day. He's been to school. Habibi, thank you.
Most of them know me. My name is Ahmed. Tough question. No offense to any Maulanas. Nowadays, like you asked, what are the problems in the Islamic community, especially in the Shia community? One is the marriage. Second, I personally feel it's Maulanas. It's not something offensive to anyone, but just one quick example, right? One Maulana comes here and says, we have to do the fastest Jamaat namaz. Second one comes and tells, we can do a leisurely Jamaat namaz, right? And the third is our Ayatollah Google, who's telling you something else. So this is a lot of confusion in the community, where you have each Maulana coming here, not you, but having a lot of question answer, at least 2. So this is one problem, what I've been noticing for quite some time. I don't know how many people agree to this one, but this is there. This is happening, and this is increasing day by day. The centers also are opening based on what a specific Maulana would come and tell about. So how are we going to deal with these problems for the new and youth, which is growing, which is the next generation? It's a problem for the community.
Mm-hmm.
So, would you agree to that? You invite only one Maulana.
That's one solution. The other is, I believe, just like you go to a doctor or a hairstylist. Hassan, hairstylist. You went to a hairstylist today?
No, I didn't.
You did your own hair?
I think it looks good.
Yeah. So anywhere you go, you're going to have a variety of opinions. They'll tell you, do this, do that, but they could all be right. I believe that the example you gave about namaz, I can see how both of them can be correct. Ramadan time, people are hungry, they need to, or there is a special occasion, time is running, there is no space, so you do a quick namaz, there's nothing wrong with that. And then there is a time where you have, let's say you have more time and it takes time for people to gather, let's say, so you do it a little longer. I don't see that causing a big drift in the community. Yeah, so I don't know how drastic those examples are, but I believe having a variety of opinion is something that is good. In fact, if your community has a variety of opinion, as long as they're all right, as long as somebody doesn't come here and say, you can eat pork, well then that is, like you said, there would be a problem. But if somebody comes and says, for example, you cannot eat lobster, and then I come and say, some maraja allow you to eat, but the norm is that you cannot. There are two different opinions, but they're all Both are correct. So I believe that the job of the community is two things. And hear me out on this. Number one, you cannot have a hospital without a doctor. We have too many hospitals without doctors. We have many masajid, Husayniyat, Imam Bargas, and they don't have an Islamic leadership. So they're lost. They're lost. That's the reality. So having somebody that is like your primary is important. And then you can have a variety, but as long as the variety is vetted. Because too many times we don't vet the people. As long as his name is Sheikh, Maulana, lecturer, youth lecturer, this, that, then we give them the mimbar. And that's a problem. So I don't know if what you meant was, I feel like sometimes we call people who are not Maulana, Maulana. But we don't call a doctor who's not a doctor a doctor. Like you don't call a nurse a doctor, but they look like one. That's a problem. That's a problem. You know, you have somebody who's, you know, at a bachelor's level, master's level, PhD, postdoc. There's got to be a difference. So it depends how you vet. There has to be a vetting system and what you want to present to your community. And I think that's a big issue. To answer, you know, your question, I believe that a lot of people have unfortunately hijacked the role of a Maulana. Not anybody can play the role of a doctor, but oh my God, every third person plays the role of a Maulana. And the other two are almost Maulanas, you know, which is unfortunate. It's a very, very sad situation that we have. But I believe that, you know, you have to have your primary, which is important. Somebody who's there for you to fall on, and then, but then that also depends on the community. You know, do they want, what kind of caliber they choose for themselves. And then others that come and go are guests. At the end of the day, I'm just a guest. No, really. This is what I tell all the communities. At the end of the day, don't expect miracles that come out of my visits. Don't expect like drastic change. Expect inspiration. Expect people to come together, but don't expect change if all the things that were discussed today are not going to come into perspective. If we don't listen, if we don't engage, if we don't, you know, so as much as I would love to say, oh, this 2-day event is going to change your whole community, I'll tell you, the reality is, no, it's not. But can it? Yes. Can it be the start? Yes. Does that answer your question, Brother Ahmed? A little bit? Well, the rest is I don't know. Yes, sister. Yes. 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 Yes.
Quite frankly, some of the issues that lead to those divorces are things that, oh my God, this person just got some counseling.
Yes.
Or some guidance on how, you know, Islamically you should behave with your spouse.
There's this brother is extending his
Thank you.
hand. Yeah.
And
Thank
how
you,
you
Brother
should
Ali.
behave Islamically, or what Islam says about your behavior towards your spouse. I think those marriages could have been saved.
Absolutely.
There are times where I know I've tried helping someone in the recent years, and I reached out to a Maulana, and I was told, you know, no, we don't want to get involved in that. And I was surprised because I thought that was that person's only hope would be that person to help them and guide them. But, you know, it was kind of disappointing to see that. And then the whole taboo around, like, oh, you shouldn't discuss you shouldn't go to counseling. Marriage counseling is a white thing to do, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that could be a cultural change that can come about.
I agree with you. We've touched, alhamdulillah, I've been able to touch upon all those topics, including this one, in my lectures as well. So inshallah, this will be a beginning for people to go look further into those discussions. We thank you all for being here tonight. May Allah bless you, and inshallah, we will see you all tomorrow. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. 3 loud salawat for yourself, and especially Brother Ali here. Salli ala محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الله